Sztanyo, what is going on? Happy Thursday evening. Welcome into Team Sztanyo Live. My name is Eric Sztanyo. We're going to talk all things about Cincinnati, living in Cincinnati, real estate related, and maybe some things unreal estate related, but some very, very interesting developments that we're going to follow up from last week. Some huge developments on the east side of town got approved, and at the same time, an enormous change through some ballot measures is going on there in terms of new developments in the future. So we're going to dive into all that because it is pretty wild what the residents got passed there and what's coming in on that east side of town. We are also going to be looking at tonight Riverbend 2.0. So for all of you out there who are Coney Island lovers who enjoyed that spot, there's something new is going down in Coney Island, again on the east side of town. A giant new concert venue that is going in there, huge investment. We're going to talk about that. And we're going to take a look at, some of the luxury home sales, because I know you guys like looking at those luxury home sales that are going on and around town, and as well as some other development that's going on and some new construction and potentially some deals that are coming with new construction. I've been talking about it. I keep saying it over and over again. I'm going to keep saying it to you guys because from now until the end of the year is a great time to buy new construction. You're going to see major discounts, not just from the sellers of resale out there, but also from the local builders as they're looking to get market homes that may be already built, get those off the books so that they can sell more homes going into 2026. So I'm going to show you some of the details of that, all that and much more. So glad that you guys are joining us tonight. Welcome in. Be sure to hit that like button while you're at it and subscribe to the channel if you're not already. And of course, I get to talk to you guys. I get to talk to you about what you're interested, what you want to talk about, what's going on, and any questions you might have about living in the Cincinnati or Northern Kentucky area. So let's dive right in, shall we? This is a pretty major headline here. We brought this up last week, but we're going to follow up as we did have the voting go down in this last week. But the headline here is 1,100 new homes get approval in a Batavia Township as a ballot measure takes effect. And that is a crazy new ballot measure. We're going to get into all of this. There's a lot going on into this. So let's dive right in. The Batavia Township Board of Trustees at its November 5th meeting, so this was just yesterday, approved plans for a pair of residential developments expected to bring more than 1,000 new homes to the growing community 15 miles east of Cincinnati. The approval comes amid a time of strife and uncertainty in the township as residents in the November 4th election approved a pair of referendums. We're going to get into all of that, to what was approved and these referendums that were also approved that's going to change the development going forward. The first referendum torpedoed an approved housing development from MI Homes. The second removed plan development regulations from the township's zoning code altogether, making it all but impossible for new residential developments to proceed in the township going forward. So this is major news happening on the east side of town. I've been talking about this east side of town and all the growth that's happening there because all the studies that have shown all the housing units that are needed. And what we're seeing in this is, 1,100 just got approved, but after that, like the brakes just got slammed shut. So I'm very curious to see how this proceeds here and what's going to happen around town. Are residents going to take similar stances around town in terms of these planned unit developments? Let me keep going. Let me unveil this, and you guys can kind of put in the chat what your thoughts are. So the pair of subdivisions, Arborside from Dries Homes and Stone Lick Ridge from developer Dan Griffin, got in under the wire. So last second, right before these referendums went in, these actually got approved. And we talked about, if you want to see all the details of this, just hit last week's live video. We went into all the details about these, and we're going to review some of that here. The Stone Lick Ridge plan, as approved by the trustees, includes 790 home sites across 425 acres on Ross Road, north of State Route 32. There's going to be multiple housing types of various sizes and architectural styles will be offered. New custom homes, townhomes, patio homes, condominiums, and alley-loaded single-family homes. This is pretty cool development, honestly, and I like the range of housing that's going in there. So it'll be, it'll reach multiple different buyers with the different housing projects there. Or the housing types, I should say. Amenities are going to include multiple pools, clubhouses, playgrounds, pickleball courts, and a fishing pond, according to the November 6th Batavia Township media release. Around 180 acres or 42% of the site would be reserved as contiguous wooded open space with around 5 miles of hiking and biking trails. The development will be served by both Batavia local schools and the Claremont Northeastern School District. Stone Lick Ridge is the largest residential project ever proposed in Batavia Township by number of homes and acreage, though not by residential density, dwelling units per acre. When it's done, I think it'll be the nicest community in Claremont County. Batavia Township Administrator Karen Schwartz told the Business Courier. So here's kind of a look at that. Let me make this a little larger for you guys to see what that development is going to look like. So plan development, this is, I'm blanking on this, this already existing community out here in Batavia. But this is kind of abuts it. And then you can see all the green space that's remaining here, multiple pools. This is a huge development going in. Pickleball courts, trails, happy children playing in creeks as well. So everyone's happy here in this press release going on. So let's get back to it here. Okay, so, and I like the alley loaded, by the way. We talked about that last week, but that means all the driveways are going to be the back. The development will be, or here we go. So Griffin presented concepts plans to the Batavia Township Zoning Commission in October, seeking to change the site's zoning to create a planned development district. The Zoning Commission's 5-member body, October 9th, voted a 2-2 tie on the rezoning, with one commissioner member and adjacent property owner abstaining, and a tie vote meant a recommendation of denial. So Griffin, in the October 9th meeting, soothed some concerns about the project by promising to remove a commercial portion with retail offices at the entrance. And the township is evaluating the site for a new fire station or possibly a park going in that space where the commercial was going to be. The Board of Trustees, November 5th, considered that version of the plan when it overrode the Zoning Commission's recommendation and approved the plan development zoning. The project will return to the Zoning Commission in the coming months for review of a final development plan. Griffin, who previously co-developed Evans Farm outside of Columbus, plans to host Homearama at the site in 2027, he told the Courier. And we're actually going to talk about Homearama in 2026 in just a little bit. But he's, if they're planning to host in 2027, that means some of those custom homes are going to be some very, very nice homes. We'll talk about Homearama in a minute, but that's always a showcase home event to look at some of the nicest homes that are coming within all of Cincinnati and Northern Kentucky. Additionally, he plans to set up a deed. I thought this is very, very interesting. Additionally, he plans to set up a deed restricted school scholarship fund such that every time a property at Stone Lick Ridge changes hands, including the initial sale from his holding company to the home builder and into perpetuity, $200 will be donated. So $200 going to the schools every single time a home is sold in that community. I think that's really interesting. I think, in terms of what we're going to look at next, where a lot of the residents have been frustrated with all of these new homes coming in, especially when it comes to tax abatements and the schools not receiving any additional money. This seems to be a really smart way to say, no, look, every time we sell a house, $200 go into the school forever. Not just for when we initially sell these homes, not for just an initial tax abatement or anything like that. Griffin also intends to form a fundraising partnership with Blood Cancer United of the Ohio River Valley, formerly the Leukemia at Lymphoma Society. So you can see, the idea of this developer is really trying to figure out, how do we help the community? Not just, we're not just looking to build homes and hurt the community. How can we do that, both by giving money back to the school and by donating to this nonprofit, the Leukemia and Lymphoma Society? The Batavia Township Board of Trustees, November 5th, also approved plan development zoning for the Arborside project, on which the Zoning Commission, October 9th, voted unanimously to recommend approval. The development site occupies 124 acres on the east side of State Route 132, near Wilson Nature Preserve and the East Fork Little Miami River. The subdivision is expected to feature around 270 homes. The Zoning Commission, October 9th, unanimously recommended approval after a Drees rep offered to reduce the number of homes by around 25 from the original plan's 295. And Matt Maines, Midwest land developer manager at Drees, emailed a statement to the Courier. And he said that Drees has developed a strong working relationship with Batavia Township and has spent the past year collaborating with them to create a plan that reflects their vision for the area. At the same time, it delivers the beautiful homes that today's buyers are looking for. We're proud of the project and look forward to working with the township to keep the positive momentum going in this market. Well, we're going to see about that. Now, I will say, Drees does build a great product. I had a couple clients just this week purchase Drees homes. They're very excited about moving forward, both in Union, Kentucky, and in Harrison, Ohio. So both Stone Lake Hills and Arborside are expected to break ground in the next 9 months. According to the release, Arborside will take 2 to 3 years to complete. Stone Lake Hills will take roughly a decade. So that is a massive project. The township did not provide tax breaks or incentives for either projects. I think that is also really important to see here. So both of those got in right at the wire. Both of those projects got approved. So you've got 1,100 new housing units coming in between both of those, with the majority of them being in Stone Lake Hills. It's going to be built out over 10 years. So that is a massive project going in. But that turns the page here to a major development that happened basically at the same time, because those projects got in, really right at the wire, right by the skin of their teeth. And so let's take a look at this, because Batavia Township voters passed referendums freezing development now going forward. So this is just very interesting to me and fascinating. I'm curious what you guys think about this as we get into it. So the Batavia Township community has been up in arms about new development for more than a year, ever since a 688 home subdivision plan from Bowman Development surfaced. The site near the Claremont County Airport was once part of the township, but during pre-development was annexed into the village of Batavia, in part to benefit from an incentive deal involving a property tax abatement. The township is against offering tax abatements to spur development. It's more than a difference of opinion, especially given the village's significant recent efforts on the economic development front, which have resulted not only in the Bowman subdivision, but also Harvest Meadows and a massive multi-family project within its borders. Now, I've been talking about the Harvest Meadows one for a few years, and many of our clients have taken advantage of that tax abatement out there in Harvest Meadows, where there's a 15-year tax abatement. If you buy a new home, it saves you thousands of dollars every single year. But the Batavia residents have been up in arms about this, because all these new homeowners have been coming into the area. The tax abatement spurred that growth and people heading out there, but they're not seeing any additional funds, coming into for the services of the village and for the township. So in terms of schools, in terms of police, in terms of firefighting, that's where all this is kind of coming into play here. So it's become such an issue that the township's November 6th release contained the following in reference both to Stone Lake Hills and Arborside. The developers and property owners have already been approached by the village of Batavia about annexing into the municipality. The Batavia Township trustees do not want to see these developments annexed into the village and then offer potential tax breaks by the village, thereby losing control of the development process. The township's concerns over tax revenues dovetailed for a while with the public pushback against denser than normal subdivisions, but the common ground split apart earlier this year when a plan surfaced for a 239 lot MI Homes project called Farmstead on 119 acres along State Route 222. Batavia Township's Board of Trustees, April 7th, voted unanimously to approve a planned development rezoning request for the new subdivision. So here's where it gets a little bit technical. So hang in there with me, guys, and we'll kind of work through this. I'll try to unpack it. Planned developments, sometimes called planned unit developments or PUDs, are at the heart of the uproar. Ohio Revised Code allows communities to offer planned developing zoning overlays for large projects. The overlay carves a development site out of the existing zoning and allows the project to proceed under specific rules, and conditions imposed by the township or municipality. These extra rules often pertain to the community's design, amenities, layout, infrastructure, building form, density, and amount of open space. Developers and home builders don't just like planned development overlays, they regard them as necessary for condensing and streamlining the site entitlement process to achieve a plan that ultimately pencils. Excuse me. So that's kind of the key part here is developers feel like they have to have these in order to get a new project pushed through. Otherwise, you're just going to get bogged down in all these, all these different parts of the process to get it approved and moving forward. So that's why I'm saying the Stone Lick and the Drees location that just went in just snuck in here. We'll keep going here. Local governments also prefer to use the overlays in part because they give the public more say over the quality of what's built. The largest public benefit, however, is in the preservation of open space, not just for aesthetic and recreational reasons, but because open space in a subdivision doesn't use infrastructure like roads or sewers, hence it doesn't require public dollars to maintain. For example, a community with 1 acre lots with no open space generally needs more publicly subsidized infrastructure than a community with more homes and more marginal property tax revenue, but on smaller lots and 40% open space, because there's just less overall public infrastructure for the taxpayer to have to maintain over time. But if developers can't get a site entitled on a density greater than 1 dwelling unit per acre, as is allowed under a planned development overlay, they must either build the subdivision with 1 acre lots, requiring future public infrastructure investments they will not be on the hook for maintaining, or not build at all. And that's the more likely outcome in Batavia Township, given development costs and the community's income profile. Either way, the community will end up with less tax revenue than if the planned development had proceeded. That, developers argue, will force the township to keep seeking tax levy increases on existing residents to pay for fire, public safety services, road maintenance, and schools. And so that's why they're saying that if you get rid of these, then the development stops, because you're imposing more tax levies on the existing residents, and they're not going to want that. Still, many existing residents see those planned communities as a problem. There's frequent backlash during the public comment portion of community meetings. We've looked at that at Hyde Park, right? And it's happening around the region, not just in Batavia Township, but it's in Batavia Township where residents went a step further. So Farmstead, which was this MI Homes community, became the subject of a referendum that sought to overturn the trustees' planned development zoning approval. And the referendum succeeded now November 4th with 86% of the vote. 86% of the vote. The residents of Batavia said, yeah, we don't want this. We're overturning this planned development zoning approval. So MI Homes, I know you're got to be super frustrated with this right now. But the residents of Batavia said, no, we don't want this. And but wait, there's more. That wasn't all. Another referendum was placed on the ballot, eliminating from Batavia Township's zoning code Article 36, which established the procedures for planned developments at large. And that measure won with nearly 59% of the vote. So 86% overturning the Farmstead development and 59% turning over these planned developments at large. So prior to Election Day, there was some amount of confusion among community members in public meetings about the referendum and the nature of development in Batavia Township, especially as compared to the village of Batavia. Some residents, inveighing against the township zoning processes, referenced the Bowman subdivision without regard for the fact that the subdivision lies in the village, not the township. Others claim the township's planned development overlay conferred some sort of by right property tax abatement, which is not the case. So there was a little bit of, maybe miscommunication, misinformation out there before the vote. And then you know how that goes when you go to vote for something, you're reading the language, you might not feel fully versed on what's going on. Regardless, this got overturned here. So regardless, as of Wednesday morning, though approved projects can move forward, new planned residential development in the township is effectively frozen. Developers that want to build will have to do so under straight zoning and apply for individual variances. So it can still happen. And to the residents' credit, and this is what the Hyde Park residents were saying, they're like, look, we have zoning codes. Just follow those. We don't want these planned unit developments where you can kind of sneak in kind of whatever you want, at least from the residents' perspective. Developers are saying, like, okay, but now we can't really move forward because it's too difficult. We got to do these individual variances, and you'll have to raise tax levies on the residents going forward. Like, you're not going to want that. And so, man, very fascinating. I was not aware of these items being on the ballot, and so, but the citizens, the voters of Batavia have spoken. So this shortly after the publication of a housing study that found Claremont County needs 11,600 new housing units to meet demand by 2045. So 1,100 new units are coming in, 11,600 are needed over the next 20 years. But because of this vote that just happened, it's going to be a lot harder to get new developments passed out in Batavia in the next 20 years, more than likely. So very interesting, very, very interesting. I'm curious what your guys' thoughts are on this, but big changes there in Batavia. I still think that, be on the lookout for Stone Lake Ridge Farm and Arborside from Drees as well. Those are going to be really fascinating communities to watch over the next few years. We'll be definitely bringing you more information on those as the development proceeds. I'm curious what's going to happen with that, if they're going to get the fire station out front, or if that's going to turn back to commercial when, as this continues to go through the zoning vote over the next few months here. But we'll keep you posted on that. We will keep you locked, but very, very interesting to see. And I'm also curious how much the Hyde Park, square interaction, the residents of Batavia saw that and were like, no, we can get this changed. We can put this on the ballot and get it changed. We don't want more of this development out here. So very, very interesting. Very, very interesting. Curious what your guys' thoughts there. All right. So moving on, we do have another major new announcement here in Cincinnati. So let's check out this next one. Because construction has begun on Riverbend 2.0, Cincinnati's newest large concert venue. All right, so the Cincinnati Symphony Orchestra and Music and Event Management Incorporated have started construction on the new 20,000 capacity Farmer Music Center at the former Coney Island site in Cincinnati's California neighborhood. Now, I know a lot of residents on the east side of Cincinnati, as well as all over town. Coney Island was a beloved water park, amusement park for years. It was kind of the genesis before Kings Island as well. So it was older. I will say, living here in Fort Thomas, my family, when our kids were younger, my oldest was probably like, I want to say he was, let's see here. Let me think. Probably eight or nine, and then like 7, and then maybe like 4, something like that. When we were heading down there and going to the Sunlight Pool, there's that silver bullet slide that was amazing. It's like one of those places where, in fact, let me see if I can look this up really quick and show you guys. Silver bullet slide at Coney Island. Do you guys remember the slides from like the 80s and the 90s? More so 80s. 90s, we started seeing them go away. Let's like say 70s and 80s. Where like you get on it and you're like, I could die. I could get seriously hurt or die. That was what the silver bullet was at Coney Island. Here's a point of view. Here we go. You get this is great. And it's wet, it's easy to slant. It's a straight up ladder. There you've got like 20 kids on this ladder. And you get up to the top of this thing, and the rails are 3 inches high, right? And you just go screaming off. Let me see if I get a better picture of this. Yeah, here's another one. Maybe it doesn't feel as huge to you, but when you've got, like, toddlers going up this thing and you're like To adults, it's maybe not that big of a deal, but to toddlers, I was like, dude, this is serious. This is a serious deal. Anyway, going back to that, Coney Island is no more. All those rides, they got a little bit, they were a little bit run down. They're pretty janky at the end there. They were pretty rough, not gonna lie. All the rides that we kind of went on and we're like, got off and we're like, oh man, I don't know how safe or how well that was. But anyway, all that went away. It was a sad day in Cincinnati. You know, anytime you have a piece of your childhood that's super nostalgic, you know, go away. That's very sad. I understand that. I understand that from a lot of residents. But what we have in its place is coming in now, which is this Riverbend 2.0 on the former Coney Island site. Permits already have been issued for earthwork, utilities, foundation, and site prep. Permits for the actual structures are expected next. MEMI and the Symphony have raised about half of the $160 million needed for the project, including a major $60 million gift from the Farmer Family Foundation. That's amazing. Fundraising will be an ongoing process, not unlike what Riverbend was years ago or Music Hall, Smith told the Courier. I have every confidence it's going to be extremely successful going forward. You're working an audience and discussing the project and the impact. It's a cool building. It'll be unlike and better than any of the other amphitheaters in the country. Because the site is adjacent to the Ohio River and for soil stability, the buildings will be constructed on top of pilings bored into bedrock, not the ground itself. So if you know that area, it's called Riverbend for a reason. It's like right on the Ohio River, and that area consistently floods, you know, in the springtime. And so this music venue is going to be up on concrete pylons, I think, to keep it, and those are going to be bored into the bedrock, not the ground itself. The Farmer Music Center will replace Riverbend as the region's main outdoor amphitheater, aimed at attracting top-tier artists doing warm weather tours. But Riverbend will not be demolished. The older venue will be available for festivals and in case of any date conflicts. It just creates more flexibility. In Cincinnati, we've got a fight for dates for those warm weather dates because it's not an indoor, you know, venue. And that's another story that we're keeping an eye on, is like what's going to happen with a new indoor arena so we can get those cold weather month events. But this says they'll get more flexibility. In Cincinnati, we've got to fight for dates. It'll give us access or opportunity for virtually anybody that's out there that's touring the summer season. The new building, because of the way it's been designed, it'll be able to confidently host shows played earlier in the spring. So let's take a look at how this is designed a little bit here. See, there's not a whole lot of photos here. You can kind of see this is like raised. You'll see this is raised up a little bit. I do think that is a pretty sweet design. Not going to lie. I think that's pretty awesome. Let me look at the next ones here. All right, let's take a look at this one. So this is probably the image that gives you the best look at it right now. So the Ohio River is going to be kind of like right over here. And you can kind of see down here where the pylons are coming underneath. So it's multiple layers up. So you're going to be walking up, and it looks like they're having parking maybe even right under that. Maybe that's not parking. Maybe those are just lights that I'm looking at. And then it's kind of like 3 levels up, it looks like. So where the concerts are going to be are up here. It's a $118 million venue, include 20,000 seats with more pavilion seating, along with new types of seating, including private clubs, VIP seating, and corporate boxes. So this is pretty cool. There's one more image here I'll show you guys of these renderings. So here's one more look at it. Honestly, looking at that, it looks a little bit like old Riverfront Stadium to me. And you guys watching here who are from Cincinnati, what do you think? Does that look like Riverfront Stadium? I mean, it looks cooler and more modern, but the way, the way those beams and pillars are kind of like extending out gives me, you know, makes my heart beat a little bit. I miss Riverfront Stadium, that old AstroTurf donut that we had in the middle of downtown. Okay, let's keep going here. So Cincinnati is one of only 3 cities in Ohio, Kentucky, and Indiana with a venue that seats 20,000 people or more, with the others being in Greater Cleveland and Indianapolis. So I love that, the fact that we're going to have this venue that can compete with those cities in terms of having 20,000 people or more in the area. So the new venue, which will be located inside the city, inside the city of Cincinnati, which is interesting. It's not actually in Anderson Township. Well, maybe it is actually. Will be a modern, amenity-rich facility aimed at driving more revenue to the CSO and the community. Smith noted the Farmer Music Center will have large 1,000 capacity indoor space, as well as 125 capacity super VIP area that will have heating and air conditioning, and that can host events 12 months per year. So thinking about Anderson Township, there's a sense of a real shortage of meeting and convention space on this side of town. So that's going to be a nice asset. Yeah, I agree with that. That's pretty cool to have that additional space on that side of town. MEMI and the CSO relationship is symbiotic. MEMI allows Cincinnati to have an orchestra that punches far above the region's population size, no doubt. If you guys have never been, oops, I had a thing come in here. If you've never been to the symphony downtown at Music Hall, you've got to get there. It's incredible. And the orchestra there. MEMI is I don't know if it's Mimi. I don't know. Mimi, like grandmother. I don't know. Is a $100 million annual business, and Riverbend alone has delivered $100 million to the symphony since it opened. All of MEMI's net revenues go to the symphony to support its continued operations, and the net income to the CSO is expected to double in part through the creation of 2 major multi-day music festivals. They also own the Andrew J. Brady Music Center downtown, PNC Pavilion at the Riverbend site, and the Rose Music Center in suburban Dayton. It operates the Taft Theater downtown and programs events for Memorial Hall and Over the Rhine and the Interlochen Center for the Arts in Michigan. So there you go. Very excited about this new venue that's coming. That's cool. I mean, that side of town in the summertime, it is a great place for concerts. And I like the idea of being able to do, music festivals where you've got the old Riverbend and kind of like the new one, 2.0 right next to it. And then if they're operating these other venues around town, like the Andrew J. Brady, that could become kind of a network of concerts that could be really, really fun here in the area. So very cool to see. What do you guys think about that? Drop a comment below, and let's keep moving on here. Just want to mention this really briefly. There's a California-based retailer opens their first Cincinnati location inside the Kenwood Town Center. So, guys, I'm not a chic jewelry expert, if you don't know me by now, but Gorjana, you guys help me out. Gorjana opened its first Cincinnati store in Kenwood Town Center. The chic jewelry brand offers various products in 1,400 square feet. Kenwood Town Center has recently added several new retail tenants. So I bring that up just to say, like, Kenwood Town Center is kind of the premium shopping here in Cincinnati. They landed just another luxury kind of chic retail tenant here. And so I just wanted to let you guys know that for those of you who are moving to town, and let me kind of bring this up real quick. And you don't know the area really. Let me bring this up in maps. Just to show you where this is located. And, we all kind of know maps or malls have kind of been dying out over the years. Kenwood Town Center is still kind of a mall, but it's got really kind of the best, it's the most premium shopping here in the Cincinnati area. So you've got, Tiffany & Company and Lululemon and Apple and Oakley and, Coach is there. And so now they're getting these new tenants as well. But just to zoom out here a little bit to show you where this is, it's just off Interstate 71 as you're heading north from downtown Cincinnati. Let me pull this off so you guys kind of see where it's at. So it's probably about 10, 12 miles north of downtown. And you're just west of Indian Hill, just west of Madeira, of just north of Marymount, and just kind of south of Montgomery. So you're pulling in a lot of shoppers there, Blue Ash as well, from this side of town for premium shopping. But it's very centrally located. But if you're looking to move on the east side of town and looking for shopping, Kenwood Town Center is probably the place to go. Okay. So wanted to show you that, and we're head on to this next one. All right. I know you guys like seeing these home sales. So I'll show you some of these luxury home sales that have gone for $2.5 million or more in 2025. I won't hit all of these, but most of these, what you're going to see, here's one on Indian Hill. $8 8780 Old Indian Hill Road. I'm just going to whip through these really quick so you guys can see it and hit the highlights here. So the luxury home sales increased actually 50% in 2025. Indian Hill dominates there. So if you're looking to move to Cincinnati and you're looking for the most luxurious homes, Indian Hill is 24 or 27 of the sales that are 2.5 million and above. Now, there are other places around town where you can get similar homes that feel like Indian Hill. You might not have the acreage, but they actually might be a little bit less, because inside of Indian Hill, you're paying for prestige, you're paying for the schools, you're paying for the privacy, you're paying for these larger lots. You're getting a lot there. It's definitely kind of the most prestigious area inside of Greater Cincinnati, I would say. And that's why you see 24 or 27 of these sales over 2.5 million in Indian Hill. So the overall median home price rose 4.7% to 310. Okay. I don't know. So there's another one in Indian Hill, 9575 Cunningham Road. Here's one Indian Hill, 5,000 Willow Hills Lane. That's 2.875 million. This is actually in Miami Township. So this was $3 million listed by Scott Euler. You can see this is a larger farm off of Ward's Corner in Miami Township. Here is Indian Hill. Again, 9650 Tall Trail. That was 3.6 million. Here's Indian Hill, 5.275 million by Andrea DeStefano. That's 5900 Park Road. Here's 5947. And there's, this is Deerfield Township. So this is a newer build, 2.5 million. Here is another Indian Hill residence, 5 Stone Snail Lane. That was 2.55 million. This looks like a condo in East Walnut Hills that went for 2.85. I think that was a penthouse up there, 1201 Edgecliff Place, 6500 Wyman Lane in Indian Hill. I don't need to see all of these, all the addresses, I guess, here. So here's Indian Hill, 3.5 million. Indian Hill, 2.9 million. Indian Hill, 2.9 million. Indian Hill, 2.9 million. You guys detecting a pattern? Indian Hill, 3.8 million. This is in Covington. This is an interesting area, actually, that has views. You can see downtown Cincinnati in the background. So this is one for 2.5 million on Vista Point Drive up there. This is a very kind of cool community, really close access to downtown Cincinnati, but on the Kentucky side there in Covington. Here's another sale, 2.6 in Indian Hill, 2.6 in Indian Hill, 2.8 in Indian Hill, 3.8 in Indian Hill, 5 million in Indian Hill, 2.5 in Indian Hill off Given Road, 2.6 off of Kugler Mill Road, 3.6 in Indian Hill, 2.9 in Indian Hill, and 3.18. Is there one more? 2.5. So you can kind of see what's cool about these homes too. You're paying for the luxury there, but you see all the different types of architecture. Most all of them are, custom homes built there. And so there's more homes sold in Indian Hill than you might think. I think the median is actually closer to like 1.2 million. These are, the most expensive homes that are sold. But if you're interested in that community, I'm trying to get out more content about Indian Hill. I was just actually up there this week. I actually did a tour of a home that's on the market right now. And I think it was listed for, I want to say it was at 2.3 right now. But it was just like, it was lovely with the autumn colors changing right now. It was private, it was about 4 acres, I want to say. And there was I could see a neighbor's home, but the trees are all so mature. It's like you're in kind of your own world of privacy. This house, I want to say, had 7 bedrooms. I think it had 5 on the first floor, 2 more in the basement. It's this large sprawling ranch, and there's so much natural light, which I really liked. It was built in the 50s. I think it was 1958. And so you'll see that on one of my upcoming videos here once we get that edited and packaged and out. But trying to get more content out there around this neighborhood, because it is a very unique place. There's really not much. I mean, like I said, you can find estates and homes like it, but in terms of an entire community of it, it is one of a kind here in Cincinnati for sure. So, okay, moving on a little bit here. Speaking of really nice, beautiful homes, wanted to mention here this headline, which is talking about Homearama returning to a country setting, offering multi-acre estates in 2026. So we just finished up in 2025 our Homearama. I'm not going to spend too much time on this, but this is a home by Robert Lucky out in Stone Pillars Farm during 2024. So that was in Anderson there. But the 63rd installment will showcase luxury homes at both farms in 2026. There's going to be 5 fully decorated homes priced from $1.2 million that will be featured. And the event location offers rural tranquility with access to nearby amenities. So just to kind of show you guys where that's at. And I'm seeing, again, although we talked about here the growth that might be stalling out potentially in the years to come out in Batavia Township, kind of in this area, I'm continuing to see a lot of growth happen, up this way, out in Goshen, northeast. So as Cincinnati continues to grow, as the economy here continues to grow with advanced manufacturing and logistics and, and healthcare and all these things, you're seeing that connection between Dayton happening. GE and aerospace is another big one. You're seeing the connections between Dayton happening, and I think between Columbus as well happening more and more. So a good bet on growth, I still think, is going to be east of the city and northeast of the city, and that's where this Homearama is going to be held. As you guys can see here, it's kind of northeast, just past Loveland, northeast here, up in kind of the Mainville area. So this is. It's going to be actually in Warren County's Hamilton Township, about 3 miles northeast of downtown Loveland and about 20 miles northeast of downtown Cincinnati. So look for that. There's going to be 19 home sites out there on 44 acres with lots 2 acres or larger. Sits in the Little Miami School District, which is a strong school district up there. Brookstone Homes is the community's master developer. And they acquired the underlying land from the $1.63 million from the Both family in 2024. So 2-acre sites, you're going to have several builders there, architectural styles from Brookstone Homes, Eagle Custom Homes, John Hill Construction, K Homes LLC, Old World Custom Homes, and Wheelan Builders. The homes will be priced from $1.8 million. So if you're interested in that and you're interested in working with a custom builder, again, of course, reach out to us. Going to have 2-acre sites out there. Going to be pretty cool. Brand new homes versus, we just showed you Indian Hill. And like I mentioned, a lot of those homes have been in families for generations now, or were built in the 50s or certainly earlier than that as well. So if you want brand new construction, but also want the large acreage, maybe this siting out at both farms where you can get a custom home built with 2-acre lot might be something that you're looking for. All right. Now, one other thing I want to hit before heading out tonight, we're going to bring down the price range a little bit. Appreciate you guys checking in. Again, if you want to have a discussion here, leave a comment. Any questions you guys have. Love being able to interact with you guys on the live. It's one of my favorite things to do all week, especially if you're looking to move to the area and you have questions. You're like, I don't know what's going on. Please tell me, what is this? Love to answer those questions. Or if you're watching this on the replay, obviously leave those in the comments below. We'll hit those up later. So I got this email this week, and this is something I mentioned to you guys as well last week, which is that from now until the end of the year, here's the email I got. It's a great time to buy new construction. Okay, if we're going to bring the price point down a little bit from these 2 million plus homes in Indian Hill and Homearama, down to some of the more production builders here. So Fisher Homes, Dries Homes, MI, Arling House, DR Horton, a lot of good production builders in the area. Fisher Homes is the number one. But I got this email. This happens around every time of year, this Red Bow event where there's some big sales that are happening. And so I want to show you a few of those happening tonight. And I always say this, that if you're thinking about new construction at all, now is a great time of year to look. And so I'll just go through some of these. These are in Northern Kentucky. I tried to look on the Cincinnati side. I know they have deals as well, but in terms of their website, for whatever reason, I wasn't seeing the deals. But here's a Pearson in Southgate that's marked off $11,000. I'm just going to go through some of these real quick. Here's another one, a Leland in Ludlow, Kentucky. This was listed at $865. It's now listed at $849. So $16,000 off of that home. Here's a Mitchell in Villa Hills. This is Sanctuary Village, I believe. River Birch Drive, that was $855. It's now $839,500. $15,500 off. And I can go on and on these guys. There's a Blair in Ballyshannon on Donegal that has $7,000 off. By the way, I just showed, let me look at this one really quick. Hopefully I can get back to it. I just had some clients in town this week from, they're actually moving here from Great Britain. And we were looking in the Union area, and they really liked the Blair. They really liked this floor plan. If you guys have not seen this before, I'll show it to you really quick. It has a 2-story living room. Oh, I don't have all the questions. Let me pull it up here. Fisher Homes Blair. Let's do it here, because that's where we were looking. So we were looking at Union and Triple Crown. No, by the way, you guys, if you go to the website, I'm just going to tell you this again. I say this all the time, but you're going to get Pearl, their virtual assistant or their real assistant or whatever. And they're going to be like, hey, how can we help? I say this all the time, but if you want to have a real estate agent work alongside with you to help negotiate with the builders, to help you throughout the build process, then you got to reach out to us first. Okay. Don't fill out a form on Fisher's website first. Don't go into the model home first. Come talk to us. If we introduce you to the builder, they are more than willing to pay our commission, because we're doing what's called the thresholding. We're bringing you into them as a new lead, versus if they generate the lead without an agent, or you don't name an agent when you first you can also name an agent, and just say, hey, I'm working with this person, just to be safe. You can do that. You can always kind of back that off if you're not, but say, hey, I'm working with Eric and Team Sztanyo as you go in. They should register that down, and that person should contact me. And again, it's just better. Like, they're going to pay for my commission, so I don't cost you anything to work with you. And then you have just an advocate, you have a negotiator on your side, because even those new construction, things go wrong all the time. I say this over and over again. So I just wanted to mention that. All right, so here's the Redbow event. Here's the Blair. I wanted to show you guys and why they like it so much, because you get this 2-story living room, but you also have this unique function with the Blair where this rec room, it's hard to see right here, but it's a 5-level floor plan. And so this is right off the kitchen, and it's not down a full flight of steps. It's only down like, I don't know, 6 steps or something like that. And so you have that, and then you have another basement below that. And then the primary suite, or the master bedroom here, is also only 6 steps up. And then the other bedrooms are above the primary. So you're on a different level. And my buyers who are in town, they really like that, because they're like, oh, this is great. I like this rec room. Like, our kids can stay right down there. I like that. I like that our room is right here, but it's on a separate level than the other kids' bedroom. So like, we have that separation, which is really nice. It's a really unique floor plan. And the Blair is in the designer collection for Fisher Homes. The clay is their masterpiece selection of this, which just includes like a few more things in it as well. So they're really interested in that. So anyway, okay, let me try to go back to this Redbow here, see if I get it. Yep. So that Blair was $7,000 off. And to be honest, guys, you're seeing these discounts, and I wouldn't be surprised if you can get even a little bit more. But again, come to us first, because we know how to negotiate these. We've sold a lot of new construction homes, and we've got really good relationships with the builders. And so they work with us a lot, because they know that we are, if it's a good fit for our client, we're going to bring them to them. And so they like that relationship, and they usually, the people that we work with, we have these, these relationships we developed over time. And, it just makes the whole process a lot smoother. And ultimately, it usually ends up meaning more money that you're saving, versus if you're just working with the builder directly yourself. Here's a Grandin that is, again, saving $7,000. That's in Covington. So I believe that's going to be up in Tuscany. Here is $7,000 off of Donegal, again, dropping the price from $522 to $515. And again, that's the Charles has a loft up top, I believe. So that's a 3-bedroom, 2.5-bedroom house with 2,491 square feet. Here's a Jensen. I really like this Jensen floor plan too. This is out in Burlington. You're saving $6,000 on that one. You're saving $4,000 on this Morgan, which is a single-story level home. You're saving $4,000 on this Maxwell. And I want to say, like, even in the townhomes and condos. So here's a condo out in Walton, Kentucky, the Hayward B. Was $270, now $265. So you're even saving $5,000 on a condo, which is a big deal. They got the Hayward, $7,000 off of this one in Walton. This one also in Walton, $5,000 off. So even condos, patio homes, single family homes, there are discounts now till the end of the year. This one's $10,000 off, from $236 down to $226. I mean, I might want to buy that one just as a rental. To be honest, this is, by the way, like, not a bad idea. If you're an investor and you're like, $226 for a brand new condo, 2-bedroom, you can rent that out for close to $2,000 a month. Like, those numbers start to work really well when you've got new construction on it, right? I've thought about that. I've actually looked at this area in Walton, because that's the other area where I think growth is happening on the Kentucky side. I was just talking to another potential client today who's they're shopping whether to move their business from Minnesota either to Milwaukee, which is a little closer to them, or down here. I think they're leaning down here, but we were talking about, hey, where's the growth in Northern Kentucky? I'm like, look, it's Union and South, like down in the Walton area, and it's kind of Hebron and West. And it's happening also in Independence, and it's happening in Alexandria. But like, there's a lot of growth in Northern Kentucky. So those are kind of the various areas we were chatting about today. So I just wanted to bring this up. Again, if you're thinking new construction, on these homes that are already built is where you're going to see some big discounts, but you can also see some discounts on to-be-built homes. And the other reason I say this is a great time of year to do it is because if you get started now, let's say you have kids that are in school, you can hopefully get the home done in summertime, move in before the next school year starts. And that's why I think whether it's buying a market home that's already built and finished, and ready to be moved in, or a contract to build home, where you get to choose all the selections in the floor plan and all that, this is the best time of year to do it. I say that all the time. So, all right, guys, I think that's going to wrap it up. I'm trying to think of any dad life this year, that guy, or Bengals. I don't know. Bengals talk. What is there to say? The defense is really bad. They're more than likely pretty much out of the playoffs at this point. And so, it happens. The offense is fun to watch. I just hope Jamar doesn't lose his mind. I think you keep feeding him and he keeps padding those stats this year. He'll be happy, but man, that defense is rough. Logan Wilson, thanks for your time here. You were a great player. And, obviously, everyone's always going to remember the Super Bowl play where you got flagged for a call that you shouldn't have got flagged on because you made a terrific play, and the Bengals should have won the Super Bowl. That's all I'm going to say about that right now. Guys, I appreciate you watching. Appreciate you tuning in. Thank you for subscribing and reaching out. It really is an honor. I say this all the time, to help you guys find your homes, strengthen your family. That's our tagline here. So if you're interested, reach out. Also, we've got our free relocation guide if you're still thinking about moving to the area. If this is just one of the cities on your list, I put that link in the description below so you guys can get that and kind of get an overview of all the different areas, school districts, amenities, parks, all those kinds of things that should be helpful for you. All right. Appreciate you guys. And we'll see you next week, and we'll see you in the next video. Thanks.